RebelsReport.com presents Rebels Rewind, where we analyze the latest Star Wars Rebels trailers, and today we're going to be analyzing It All Comes Down to This, the Season 1 finale, Fire Across the Galaxy, Episode 13 trailer. My name is Andy.
And I am your furry co-pilot, Pete.
Well, let's get right into this. So let's waste no time and let's discuss It All Comes Down to This trailer.
We start off with Filoni's typical trickery. We see a underground or scene in a cave where Kanan is joining battle against the Inquisitor. Now, if you are paying close attention, you'll notice this looks awfully familiar, and we are able to pretty strongly say this comes exactly from the episode Path of the Jedi. So this is a scene from Ezra's vision in the Force Temple on Lothal.
Yeah, it looks like it's about 9 minutes into the episode Path of the Jedi, where this is not Kanan fighting the Inquisitor in Fire Across the Galaxy. This is Kanan fighting the Inquisitor in Ezra's mind.
And they're tricky because it's really easy to think that this might be underground or within some kind of cave on Mustafar that we're seeing because of the red magma-ish looking background of the cave.
Yep.
Filoni.
But then we go to a TIE fighter getting blown up. What else is new?
Because they don't have shields. I mean, you would think eventually they would decide that it was worth the investment to put a shield on those things.
Well, they do for Vader and the Inquisitor, but everyone else, whatever.
How much training time do they give the TIE fighter pilots? Because you got to figure that it's cheaper to install a deflector shield than it would be to build a new plane and train a new pilot. But maybe they've got some really crappy deal and they get them really cheaply and they don't train the pilots at all. It's just basically, we're going to throw 1,000 TIE fighters at you and you'll eventually get shot with a lucky blast.
Hey, man.
Or a piece of flaming wreckage. Your ship is going to get destroyed by 100 TIE fighters blowing up around you.
It's the debris that's going to get you.
Exactly. That's the master plan.
Oh, sneaky Imperials. Dave Filoni trickery again, where this sequence was from, I think, 11 minutes into Rise of the Old Masters, where they're trying to escape from the prison. So, another sequence where I thought, hey, good, they're going to be working together. But no, this is the same thing.
Well, we see, it's interesting though, these two scenes will lead into some of the stuff we see later, because we see Kanan fight the Inquisitor, and then we see Ezra and Kanan working together. Could that be foreshadowing of what's to come later in the trailer?
Storytelling.
And misdirection. It's all about the misdirection with these trailers.
Absolutely. Now we're getting into the good stuff.
Yeah, this is getting interesting now, because we cut to a shot of Ezra using the Force to summon Kanan's lightsaber to his hand, and he appears to be on what is an Imperial catwalk.
What was interesting is on Twitter, Master Andrew 15 mentioned that last time, and it reminded me that last time Ezra uses Kanan's lightsaber, he's unable to put it together and get it working, and now here he is using the Force to pull it to him and then using it to fight against what we have to assume is the Inquisitor.
Yeah, and of course the lightsaber's already assembled, so he's not putting it together. But there seems to be some suggestion that, at least from the expanded universe, and I think what they're going to do a little bit in the new canon is that each lightsaber is kind of like a wand in Harry Potter, where you can use it if it's not yours, but it responds best to you because you're the one that aligned it and put it together.
Oh, that's cheesy.
So you should have more control over your own lightsaber than someone else's. Because the Force is involved in the creation of it. So,
but I guess I understand, how the Harry Potter wands work the same. I guess it's the same here. But boom, Inquisitor, Kanan, Inquisitor looking back, ignoring Kanan to face what we have to assume is Ezra. Now, where are they? Is the question.
It looks to me like the bowels of a ship. This looks to be close to the probably the reactor core or the shield generator or tractor beam main generator room.
What was the episode with Asajj Ventress and Luminara fighting within a reactor core like this? We're talking Clone Wars here, but that's what it reminds me of.
Yeah.
Now that you bring that, yeah.
Also the one with Boba Fett where he's undercover as a clone cadet, and they're on the ship and he goes and sabotages it. But yeah, this makes me think this is in one of the Star Destroyers around orbit of Mustafar, not actually on the planet, in a building on the planet, but in one of the ships in orbit.
Yep, and I think we'll touch on Mustafar in a sec.
Yeah, but you have all these. You've got that over Kanan's head. you've got like that thing hanging down.
Looks like the reactor core in the middle of the Death
Yeah,
Star.
looks like a mechanical stalactite or stalagmite.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure because there's not like a giant glow point in the middle of it, so I don't know if it's actually the reactor core or like near the reactor core.
Right back to Ezra, finally igniting Kanan's blade, and I assume it's the same sequence, except for the fact
it seems pretty clear because
oh look, Kanan is using Ezra's blade right here, and
Kanan's got Ezra's. The Inquisitor turns away from Kanan to face Ezra.
Yeah.
So this seems like it's one shot. They're not actually cutting around too much in this section right here. And we see the Inquisitor, who's got one blade ignited. We see probably the best close-up of his blade in action, where we see it flip open, extend the other emitter, and then light the other side of the blade.
Because now he knows stuff's gotten real, so he needs to get himself ready.
And he's going to be able to fight two lightsabers with his two blades. Darth Maul style. It's getting set up for something very reminiscent of the Episode 1 fight between Obi-Wan, Qui-Gon, and Darth Maul.
Qui-Gon, not Qui-Gon.
Sorry, it's late here. But we quickly leave that battle before it gets engaged to see a rather curious explosion coming out of a docking bay. And ahead of the explosion is a TIE Advanced, looking very much like the Inquisitor's TIE Advanced.
Could be Vader's.
Could be, but most likely it's going to be the Inquisitor's, which makes me think that the Inquisitor is rapidly evacuated an exploding Star Destroyer.
Yes, which I think we'll touch on by the end when we see the exploding Star Destroyers. So we get next to Hera, Sabine, Zeb, the rest of them flying. This has to be the TIE Fighter, what they're in right now.
Yeah, it's definitely the cockpit of the TIE Fighter.
Now, this is the TIE Fighter they stole back in way earlier in the season. It has to be.
The one that... Now, we saw in an earlier episode when Ezra was supposed to be his Jedi training, him and Sabine were off doing something else. And I'm guessing they were off modifying and painting and repairing this ship. If you look to the top of the frame, you'll notice you can see actually the paint that they gave to the ship. There's orange and yellow. There's an orange border around the top, and there's yellow around the transparent steel window frames. So you can actually see some of the painting on the inside of it, even though it was painted mostly on the outside.
So this has to be the same TIE Fighter.
Yeah, this is a yellowish, goldish colored TIE Fighter that we'll see later, very briefly in the trailer. It's a pretty tight squeeze in there. We know that Ezra and Zeb had trouble fitting in this. Now we've got Zeb, Hera, and Sabine does not look happy in this picture. There's some stuff going down.
We do know Lasats don't smell all that great, so
we go from that shot of inside the TIE Fighter cockpit to the next shot, which is pretty awesome. So
we're going to find out later, it's I think about 3 of them, but right now we see 2 CR-90 Corellian Corvettes that are similar to what you see the Tantive 4 and the Sundered Heart, and we've seen Fulcrum use a similar one. Now the one that we see in the top right is not the same one that we saw Fulcrum use due to the paint schemes, but one of them is, and I don't know which one it is yet because this is kind of hard to tell. But the Ghost has some help from 3 Corvettes.
But if we just saw the pilot of the Ghost, Zeb and Sabine in the TIE Fighter, who's flying the Ghost, or is this from a later point in the episode?
So then we jump right into Ezra and Kanan fighting in a style that's very, very reminiscent of the Phantom Menace. Yep,
and then we have it's very, very similar to the Phantom Menace. And we have the Inquisitor doing some really cool jump move while he's battling the 2 of them. And they're, unlike Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon, they're actually doing it together. Same thing, unlike Anakin and Obi-Wan. So basically, unlike anybody in Obi-Wan, Kanan and Ezra are working much better together. Teamwork.
Now, if you look at the Inquisitor's face, he is pissed. I don't know if he's losing or what, but he is not having a good time. Yeah,
it seems like when the series began, the Inquisitor was very much leveled up above Kanan and Ezra, and now he's a little more uncomfortable because they're getting much more proficient in the use of the lightsabers and the Force. So he's hoping he didn't bite off more than he can chew with those pointy little teeth of his.
After we skip another shot of Hera and them, I'm fascinated about this sequence because why are there 3, or in this case we can only see 2? So there's a bunch of Corellian Corvettes being chased by TIE fighters. There's
blockade runners.
Blockade runners.
There always be blockade runners to me. But anyways.
Always. All right, old
we
man.
see four Star Destroyers in orbit around Mustafar, with one of them smoking rather profusely.
Now, here's my theory. I think the one smoking is Tarkin's Sovereign. So we heard in the last one that Tarkin's Star Destroyer is a Sovereign, and that's where Kanan's being held. I think they're taking the Star Destroyer to Mustafar, and then one of the other Star Destroyers, I don't know if I'm right about in terms of the classes, if it's Imperial class versus Victory 2 or whatever they're at these days. I think one of them might be the Devastator, the same one we see at the beginning of A New Hope, and Darth Vader, I think, will be on one of those.
That's a possibility, because we will talk about Vader at the end of the trailer here, but I can't. They basically, the Rebels Star Destroyers that I see in the image look pretty much all the same to me on the outside.
Yeah.
So I couldn't tell you whether he's on there or not. I would say that it would make more story sense if he's coming on after this event's happened at the very end of the episode than if he's present when this is all going down. But that's just that'd be my theory. I don't think he's on one of those ships.
That would actually make more sense, because why would he be on Mustafar at this point? I think they call him to Lothal rather than having them there at the battle.
It could be like the Inquisitor is hurt. The Inquisitor just got his butt kicked. Tarkin's Star Destroyer is destroyed. We have a big problem, and we need some more help than what we can handle.
Yep, that would make sense. So we continue the battle between Ezra and the Inquisitor, and Ezra's looking a little like he's bitten off more than he could chew this time.
Yep. Whoa! And then we go back to the cockpit of the TIE Fighter, and a whole mess of other TIE Fighters coming right at us. Oh. This is what you would want in 3D or on Star Tours, where you have they're coming right at you.
This is the money shot of the trailer for me. You see Mustafar in the background. You see a Star Destroyer going down in flames. You see all these TIE Fighters coming at you, reminiscent of, let's say, Return of the Jedi, where all those TIE Fighters are coming to the Millennium Falcon. And you see the Star Destroyer coming right at you. So this is not a good position.
Yeah, it feels to me like that, just a very small slice of the Battle of Coruscant that we saw in Revenge of the Sith. It's that kind of energy to that clip of the trailer, which it's like my favorite space battle ever.
Yes.
So, but then we quickly go back to the duel with a close-up on the Inquisitor, and he uses the Force, and it looks like a different... No, we see a scene where he's using the Force, like a Force push.
Now he's reaching for something.
Yeah, it looks like he might be reaching for them, because the next scene, if you look at it, it's not connected directly to the previous scene where he's extending his hand, because his lightsaber isn't in his hand or ignited. If you look behind him, it looks like Kanan's on his back on the platform, and Ezra is falling or being pushed or was injured and is falling off the catwalk, dropping Kanan's lightsaber as he falls.
Yes, exactly. He has Kanan's lightsaber at this point, so it's probably after that whole sequence.
So it makes me wonder if the Inquisitor possibly threw his lightsaber, because we know he did that, and hit Ezra with it after disarming Kanan. But these two shots are cut together, but they're not from the same direct sequence. Yeah. But it seems like things aren't going very well for our heroes, because Kanan's down for the count, and Ezra's about to fall possibly to his doom.
And then another shot of more TIE Fighters exploding. And then right back to Kanan versus the Inquisitor in what looks to be kind of reminiscent of a Return of the Jedi as well, with the control panels.
This looks awesome. Yeah, the control station. If you look, I think the control station is what was behind Kanan the whole time, with that thing protruding from the ceiling above it. So I think this shot, I think, is after Ezra falls off the catwalk, because now Kanan has two lightsabers, both his and Ezra's, and he's battling the Inquisitor again. So it's possible that Kanan got knocked out again, because he tends to get concussions like every other episode. Whenever he fights the Inquisitor, he gets a concussion. They might want to call in the doctors and check him out before they let him go back into battle. Yeah,
there's no doctors on the crew. They need to bring a doctor on board.
But I love this shot. Kanan's doing some acrobatics, slicing at the Inquisitor, who's sort of hiding in the control panel to avoid getting hit.
He's very acrobatic.
Yeah. It's very much like the Return of the Jedi sets a little bit. from the throne room.
Yeah.
And then we quickly cut to a hallway scene where we see a squad of stormtroopers led by their commander, and Sabine is throwing a nice lefty curveball thermal detonator.
Now, it's more like a smoke grenade rather than a thermal detonator.
Yeah, I prefer to think it's a thermal detonator in my head.
Mm.
Yeah, but you're right. It's a smoke grenade.
And then we go back to another version of that same sequence at the control panel. This time, he has both lightsabers, Ezra's and his own. And the Inquisitor's lightsaber is still intact, so we know.
But we quickly see a rather serious panic face on the Inquisitor.
Yeah. Season finale, and then it continues
dun, dun.
Fighting. Nearly, I think he just chopped off Kanan's head. It's over.
Yep. And then we quickly cut to a scene of the Star Destroyer fully blowing up. Now it's no longer smoking; it's disintegrating basically as it enters the atmosphere of Mustafar, and we see one of the Imperial Sentinel class shuttles escaping.
So is this Vader's shuttle? You think? Because you don't think he's here, but we do see a shuttle later, and
I would think this is Tarkin's shuttle.
Yeah, that would make sense.
I would think this would be Tarkin evacuating, not in his moment of triumph. He's not feeling quite as comfortable as he would be on a giant battle station on the bridge of the Star Destroyer, so he decides to get out of there. But he's going to be extra pissed they destroyed his ship.
Oh, yeah.
Now, if you're following in the new canon, this would be Tarkin's second ship that got destroyed. His pretty little stealth starship that was modeled after the Clone Wars stealth ship that Anakin flew in the Admiral Trench episodes was destroyed in the book Tarkin. And now his Star Destroyer, presumably the Sovereign, has been destroyed. And eventually his giant battle station will be destroyed. So basically, he keeps going up in size in ships, and they keep getting blown up. So
he keeps compensating.
I don't know why the Emperor keeps giving him toys, because they always get broken.
Yeah. And then we jump over to, you see a brief shot of what looks to be that TIE fighter that was painted with the orange cockpit.
Yeah, I like to think that it's kind of golden, but I can't,
gold is best, so.
Yeah, I prefer gold.
A big explosion. Is this the reactor, you think, or?
That would be if you look at, there's like a donut of energy basically going up the what looks like the reactor shaft to me. So I think that would be what it is.
So they're fighting on the Sovereign right now then. They have to be.
I would think so, yeah. And I would think that possibly Ezra, after he fell off the catwalk, somehow managed to force land, or because we know he can leap pretty good, is the one that set off some kind of chain reaction explosive in the bottom there.
Everything, yeah.
Yeah, but I'm not positive on that. It could be we saw Sabine and Hera running around on a ship. It could be them doing that, or it could be Zeb. It could be Chopper. It could be any of them. But it would make sense because we don't see Ezra again in the clip, that maybe he's the one sabotaging the vessel under there.
So then we get right to the quick shots of Darth Vader. If you blink, you'll miss it. But Darth Vader getting off the shuttle, probably a Sentinel class. And in the background, the sky is blue, probably Lothal.
That would be my assumption. Like, it looks like Lothal sky. It's definitely what you can see, like the sort of the round shoulders, basically, or the round fuselage of the shuttle. It's got that kind of like roundness to it. So it definitely looks like the shuttle to me, or one of those shuttles to me. And we see a Vader that looks fairly different from what we see usually on the film. Like, to me, the mask looks a lot narrower. It's a lot closer to the Ralph McQuarrie concept art of Vader than what we saw in the films.
And what it reminded me of is the red eyes kind of reminded me of those sequences that you would see Darth Vader's, Dave Prowse's actual eyes beneath the lenses in some shots in A New Hope. So that's what it reminded me of, is kind of bringing back that kind of red eye feeling that you would get. And it is thinner, it's narrower, it has that McQuarrie feel to it. And
you can definitely see the red lenses on the final shot of him where it goes like extreme close up.
And that's it of It All Comes Down to This Fire Across the Galaxy trailer. We'll see all you guys after March 2nd with our season finale podcast review. But thank you for watching our Rebels Rewind analysis of the trailer. Until next time, may the Force be with you.